Liston?
Present. Next, we're going to move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us if you are able to. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I move that we adopt tonight's agenda. Dr. Gonzalez, do you have any recommendations for this evening's agenda?
Madam Vice President, we recommend that we accept the agenda as it is presented.
Okay, thank you. Then I move that we adopt the agenda. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
May we get a roll call vote?
Board Member Trujillo? Aye. Board Member Sandoval Barrera?
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's?
Yes.
Vice President Edmiston?
Yes. Okay, next I move that we approve the governing board meetings for the July 9th, 2026 governing board meeting. May I have a second?
This is Carmen. I'll second.
May we have a roll call vote?
Board Member Trujillo? Aye. Board Member Sandoval Barrera?
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's?
No.
Vice President Edmiston?
Yes. Okay, next we're going to move on to the current event summary. We'll start with superintendent's report and Dr. Gonzalez.
Good evening, Cabinet, our board members, our community. I want to begin this evening by thanking all of the people who have helped make the opening of our schools such a successful year. With construction at Ann Ott, Garfield, Edison, and Herrera, our partners and construction facility teams have been working all summer and have managed everything seamlessly. Our warehouse and custodial teams and grounds crews have been working in these high heat days to make sure schools are ready for our families and their children, and they've really done a remarkable job. Our new transportation team has added new routes to streamline the time on the bus for our students, and they've been able to transport nearly 1,200 students, which is up 300 from last year. Our technology team has refreshed thousands of student devices, ensuring our networks are operating safely so that our students and our teachers have access to the materials that they need. And I want to thank our child nutrition team that worked this summer to serve nearly 30,000 summer meals across our community. I'm also incredibly proud of our teacher induction program that we started last year. 100% of our new teachers stayed with Phoenix #1 this year, and those teachers are now natural mentors for our newest crop of teachers for Phoenix #1. They're creating a support network that will continue to ensure our teachers are equipped for success in the classrooms. Our family and community engagement specialists have signed up even more parent volunteers this fall. Well, summer for us, but fall for the school year. And they've been able to give families backpacks, school supplies, and uniforms thanks to great partners like BHHS Valley Legacy and Beyond Autism, and of course, the Maricopa County School Superintendent's Office, Superintendent Shelley Boggs. And many, many others have volunteered and provided supplies for our families and our students. These are the kind of behind-the-scenes efforts that make our schools great for students. I'm so proud of our staff and so grateful to all of our partners. I know we all look forward to working closely together with our families as our enrollment continues to grow and we continue to see our students meeting their grade level academic standards. Thank you to everyone for making this a fantastic start to 26-27. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Okay, we are going to move on to board member reports. Do we have any board member reports? Board member Tria?
Thank you very much. I left my computer at my desk and I didn't have enough time to go get it. So I'm just gonna fly by the seat of my pants and just give a warm welcome to everybody, students and staff back for the school year. Welcome all the new teachers that chose PESD 1. We're really excited to have you, and I just am really appreciative of all the work that's gone on this summer to prepare for the new school year. It was nice to see some familiar faces at the back to school rally last Friday. And what great news to hear how many meals we served this summer. So thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez. With that, I'm happy to see everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening, and I wish everybody a great school year. Thanks.
Thank you. Board member.
Thank you, Vice President Edmondson. My board comments are, ooh, forgive me. My board comments are along the same lines of saying the back to school rally was a success. It was great. It was good. We enjoyed much festivities with very familiar faces. So that was very, very appreciated. Not only that, but I also wish to appreciate our principals for this week of school. I'm going to list them off all now. The principal of Bethune, Principal Zells, the principal of Capital, Principal Botts, the principal of Edison, Principal Fuentes, Principal Gofonia from Emerson, Principal Eddington of Faith North, Principal Samita of Garfield, Principal Clinic of Herrera, Principal Pietrangeli of Kenilworth, Principal Ramos of Lowell, Principal Walker of Magnet, Principal Engdahl of Shaw Montessori, and Principal Holmes of Whittier. I wish to show recognition to all these principals who are doing quite well and were able to have this week do what they needed to do to bring and welcome the children and the families of Phoenix Elementary District Number 1 to have a successful first week back to school. And I also wish to recognize the cabinet and Superintendent Gonzalez for doing a really well job. So I thank you, each and every one of you. And as well with Board Member Trujillo, I wish to say thank you for all of you coming here today to listen to the board meeting. And that will end my comment.
Thank you, Board Member Sandoval. Member Board Member Breyer.
Well, first, I'd like to say what they said. I'm not going to repeat everything that they said, but I wanted to make a note. I voted no against the minutes because the motion was not proper. You either have to read the minutes or you have to dispense with the reading of the minutes, one or the other. You can't just say we approve them. So I just wanted to make that note. I'm a stickler for parliamentary procedure, as you folks may have noticed, and I just wanted to make sure that we do it correctly if we're going to do it at all. And I look forward to this school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other board member reports?
Okay, hi, thank you, and I'm sorry for being late. I went to a couple of the open houses and I had a blast. So I want to thank all the schools that opened their doors to me. I had a really great time meeting parents. I met a lot of really cool new teachers, in particular at Bethune. A shout out to Mr. B because he made an impression on me. I love the excitement. I love that they were very like relationship, child-centered teachers. I'm really excited about what they're gonna do next. So it was really a lot of fun. I got to check out the new Herrera, which I thought was beautiful. Saw the parents come in. I saw a lot of family participation from that school, which I thought was really awesome. I encourage, and I haven't been to all of them, but I encourage more schools to get family members to distribute backpacks or anything like that because the families look like they had a blast. So that was really cool. Also, shout out to, I went to Faith North. My little one just enrolled in there. So it was cool coming in as a parent again. My older son went there, so it was really nice, getting to know the school again. I also went to the teacher rally, so much love and respect to all the teachers. I love the energy, I love the vibe. Shout out to Mr. Anthony from Kenilworth, because he came with those little popper things, and I thought it was really a contagious environment, and so I was really excited, and I'm really excited about this new school year. I'm excited about collaborating with more people at the table, and yeah, that's all I got to say for now, so thank you. All right, so that brings us up to C, community communications. Do we have somebody on the minutes? We have electronic?
Yes, we have one.
Oh, cool. And then we have somebody who's taking time, please.
Yes, we have someone taking time.
Perfect. Let's start off with the electronic ones, please.
This is from Paul Booth. Good evening, governing board members. I respectfully ask that the board approve only a committee yet to be established to develop a replacement governance model for strategic oversight in fiscal governance that is overwhelmingly led by parents and community leaders. District staff and subject matter experts should absolutely provide expertise and support, but they should serve in an adversary capacity, not direct the committee's work. The board was elected and appointed to represent the community. A committee charged with recommending how this district is governed should be led by the people the board represents, parents, taxpayers, and community leaders. An independent committee will strengthen public trust and ensure the recommendations reflect the interests of the community rather than internal administrative priorities. This request is especially important in light of recent events. We are deeply concerned by the news that G. Rhodes was forced to leave Emerson just 2 days into the school year. We are also concerned about declining enrollment and whether the district's recent decisions are strengthening or weakening public confidence in our schools. The rushed transition to Fillmore further illustrates these concerns. District social media showed the superintendent and cabinet members painting doors over the weekend immediately before the first day of school. While I appreciate their willingness to step in, leadership should never have been placed in a position where emergency preparations were necessary just days before students arrived. That points to a breakdown in planning that should concern everyone. The board is also now being placed in an unfair position regarding the upcoming school year at Bethune because the district created a timing crisis. By allowing decisions to reach this point without adequate planning and bringing them forward at the last minute, the administration has effectively left the board with little practical choice but to approve contracting out services to ensure students are served. Governing boards should not be forced into decisions because avoidable administrative delays have eliminated meaningful alternatives. I am also concerned by reports from families describing a stressful day at Herrera, including confusion about where students were located and concerns about staff interactions. It is equally troubling that social media comments raising these concerns were reportedly removed rather than publicly addressed. Listening to families and responding transparently builds trust. These issues demonstrate why stronger governance and independent oversight are needed. I respectfully ask that the board establish this committee with a clear majority of parents and community representatives so the recommendations for our future governance model are independent, transparent, and worthy of the public's trust. Thank you, Paul Booth.
All right, that brings us up to, let's see, April Pettit, followed by Emily O'Neill.
Good evening, President, governing board members, Dr. Gonzalez Cabinet, and members of our Phoenix Elementary community. My name is April Pettit, and I am proud to serve as the president of PECTA, the Phoenix Elementary Classroom Teachers Association. I first want to say how excited our members are for the 26-27 school year. We had a wonderful week welcoming staff back, and there is a great deal of excitement across our schools. I also want to recognize the importance of the 2 consecutive teacher workdays that were built into the beginning of the school year. Those days gave educators the uninterrupted time they needed to prepare their classrooms, collaborate with colleagues, organize materials, and create welcoming learning environments for our students. Without that dedicated preparation time, our classrooms and schools would not be the amazing spaces they become for children on the first day of school. We truly appreciate the district's commitment to providing that opportunity. I also want to share an announcement with our community. This November, voters living within the Phoenix Elementary School District will elect 4 governing board members to serve either 2-year or 4-year terms. To help our members make informed decisions, PECTA and ESPO will be hosting a board candidate forum where candidates will have the opportunity to answer questions submitted by our members. We anticipate holding this town hall right here in the governing board room, and we are tentatively scheduling it for August 27th at 5 p.m. If that changes, I will let everybody know. We want to make sure that all candidates and everyone in it is aware of this upcoming event. Finally, I want to thank the governing board, Dr. Gonzalez, and the cabinet for the outstanding working relationship we continue to enjoy. We value the collaboration, open communication, and mutual respect that allow us to work together on behalf of our students and staff. We are looking forward to another amazing school year and to continue this positive partnership. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, board members, cabinet, and Superintendent Gonzalez. My name is Emily O'Neill, and I teach second grade at Areta Elementary School. Over the past few weeks, we've moved into our new campus at the Fillmore property. Like all moves, it's been a journey, and at some point, all the boxes we were unpacking blurred together. But I'd like to take this moment to thank everyone who helped us move into the new property. It was a team effort, and I'd like to shout out a few people in particular. Our custodial team, Basilia, Brenda, and Alicia, with the help of Anthony, Tanisha, and our child nutrition team, and my coworkers who volunteered many hours before our contract started to get their rooms ready. As we settle into this new building, I ask that you continue to pour into us and our arts program. My colleagues are excited for the opportunities available at the Fillmore property and have already started making connections with partners downtown. Areta has gone through many changes in the last few years, and I am looking forward to a period of stability and long-term placement at the Fillmore property. Thank you again for your support.
All right, thank you so much. That brings us to Allison Gulick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Gulick. I'll try and be a little positive, but that's not. But I continue to be concerned by major district changes occurring without meaningful transparency, including instances where even our own governing board members are not fully informed until after decisions are made by the cabinet. This undermines trust and raises serious questions about how families, teachers, and the general public are expected to participate in district decision-making. Cabinet-level decisions should reflect the same standard of excellence district leaders would expect of their own children in their own school districts. Central Phoenix children deserve the absolute best. Our students may have more complex or unique needs, but that should lead to a greater investment and stronger programming, not lowering expectations or lowering opportunities. We continue to see inequities across schools, including start time differences, transportation, programming differences, and enrichment activities. A child's educational experience should never depend on their school site or the neighborhood that they live in. I also want to be clear. I simply adore every single teacher and staff member my child has had in his 3 years in this. Did you? This district is full of highly qualified educators who care very deeply about their students, yet many do not feel supported. They have remained here for many years through the good and the very bad this district has faced. That experience and dedication, it needs to be valued. In conversations with teachers, I constantly hear how they need trust, support, and autonomy. Educators and staff should be empowered to make decisions for their classrooms and school communities without being continually undermined by district leadership and top-down directives. We must also address declining enrollment honestly. Children and families still live within this district, but we continue driving our own in-district families towards other options, mainly public school options. The next strategic planning process must be genuinely centered on teachers and the community and the students that live here. People should not simply be informed after decisions are made. They must be meaningfully included from the beginning. During the last process, I was an active community member directly connected to the district. And yet I, along with many of my other community members, were never invited a seat at the table. Incoming board members must also be included in this process. Significant public funds were spent on the last strategic plan, yet little has been done to stabilize enrollment. Instead, we have seen outsourcing, cost cutting, and decisions made that have left families feeling frustrated and unheard and ready to leave. As a parent, I have to ask, why do so many decisions feel designed to push families away rather than give us reasons to stay? It's difficult to help other families, like in my own community, to choose this district when I, even someone with very strong community ties and very strong privilege that I'm aware of, struggle to navigate this system. We are your families, we are your taxpayers, and we are the foundation of this district. Leadership must listen, invest in the neighborhood schools, support our educators and their staff, and make future decisions transparently and with the community in mind, and not merely for us. Thank you. Yes. Well, today, the G roads.
President Lafayette, board members can't ask questions during the call to the public. That's Arizona, can I cite the stat?
We can always talk afterwards.
Arizona,
Okay.
okay, I believe it's policy, governing board policy BEDH, which complies with the Arizona open meeting law. It requires, okay. The item has So So it's not really a yes or no question. If I could provide. At the conclusion of the call to the public, you have three options. You can direct staff to study the matter and bring it back. You can, if you can respond to criticism, otherwise it would be a possible open meeting law violation.
Madam President, I would tell you that if we're looking for transparency and we believe it, and if we're looking for community input and we believe it, then we should be able to have dialogue with people who come before us to talk about it. Because if what you're saying is true, all right, then we have a basic flaw that is preventing this board from achieving its responsibilities of engaging in fact-finding so that we can make proper decisions. And that is frankly wrong. And although I disagree with what the woman said about us not having information in order to make proper decisions, I believe that she had some comments with regard to transparency that frankly, I think probably should have some further discussion, but you're now telling me that I am prevented from having a dialogue with a member of the public in a duly called meeting. Is that correct? Yes or no?
You cannot have a dialogue during the call to the public. If it was an agenda item, you could ask speakers questions about it.
It is an agenda item. It's called community communications. And if we
That-
can't interact, the lawyer creed is never use 2 one-syllable words when 4 5-syllable words will suffice, okay? I asked you several yes or no questions and you dialogued with me. Now, if you're telling me I am not allowed to have a conversation with somebody who has come before this board, then I would say that we need to change the policy. And if we have to change the law, I'd be more than happy to run that bill in January through our legislature, which I've had 56 years of experience doing. Yes or no?
Board Member Aaron's, you are not, and during the call to the public, you cannot engage in a dialogue with, I'm happy to provide the board with written legal advice on that, citing to the appropriate section of the open meeting law.
The law changed.
Lawyers are supposed to get you out of jail, not keep you from going there. I'm done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your public comment. That moves us to D, the consent agenda. I move that we pass.
Point of order. Before you can move on the consent agenda approval, you have to ask the other board members if they wish to have anything removed.
Okay. Would any other board members like to have any item removed from the consent agenda? All right, thank you. So from there, I move that we pass the consent agenda, excuse me. Can I get a roll call, please? Or a second, sorry.
This is Carmen, I'll second.
Board Member Trujillo,
Aye.
Board Member Sandoval Barrera,
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's,
Aye.
Vice President Edmiston,
Yes.
President Ovalle.
Yes, and with that, the consent agenda passes. That moves us to action items E1, discuss and consider appointing a board member committee to explore possible options for strategic planning and goal setting, replacing the district's former governance model and strategic plan goals.
Madam President, since I asked that this be put on the agenda, could I explain the motion? Am I allowed to explain my motion, counsel? Counsel, am I allowed to explain my motion? Or my issue that I wanted on the agenda? I don't want to get crosswise.
You can certainly explain the reason for your agenda.
Thank you.
item. You're welcome.
We made a decision to move away with a certain type of planning methodology. Water under the bridge, it's done. But I don't think that it is appropriate. And I had a conversation with the president. I also had an individual conversation with Mr. Sandoval. I apologize to Mr. Trujillo and to our vice president that I didn't have an opportunity to talk to them individually. But I think that on reflection, and especially hearing some comments that I have heard, I think it would be more appropriate rather than to have a 2-member committee or even a three-member committee with notice would be for us to have the board act as a committee of the whole at our next study session. So if it's appropriate, I would move for the purposes of discussion. I would move that the next study session, which I believe is August the 24th, is that correct, Superintendent? Is that correct? So I would move that that the next study session, we resolve ourselves into a committee of the whole to review options and discussion for a strategic plan. And if there's a second, I'll explain the motion.
I second the motion.
Madam President, I think before we can perhaps hire, and I've heard some very good opportunities out there to hire who can walk us through a strategic plan, since I don't think it's a good idea for any one of us to actually facilitate it because it takes away from our ability to be able to vote on things and so on. But I do have experience in it, and I reviewed a paradigm with Board Member Sandoval a week or so ago, and I think we could discuss it and discuss how we want to go about it. And then we could move to either a bid process if we wanted to do that, or we could move to do it ourselves, or we could hire an individual. But that's the purpose. I think that doing it out loud, and then if we publicize it and we get more than 20 people here, the overwhelming majority of which are staff members, I believe, then we can have that kind of conversation with them in study session, and they can give their input, which I think would be definitely appropriate. So that's the purpose of my motion, and I would hope that the board would support that motion.
Board Member Trujillo?
May I ask a question? I just want to make sure what I heard correctly was that we're all in this committee.
Yes.
Okay. I vote aye.
Board Member Sandoval Barrera?
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's?
Aye.
Vice President Edmiston?
Yes.
President Ovalle?
Yes, and I also love the idea of community participation. So if folks can come for that, that would be amazing, if that's possible. All right, that brings us up to E2, receive, discuss, and consider approval of the Chase Building Teams and GMP2 guaranteed maximum price for the Edison renovation PESD RFQ 25-5-30 policy DJE-R.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez Cabinet, thank you for allowing us to speak tonight on behalf of the Edison Elementary School GMP number 2. And we have our procurement manager, Sarah Morales, to present.
Hello, thank you for having me, the community, Madam President, board members, and cabinet. We've come before you before for GMP 1, and now we're on GMP 2. This is for Edison. Let's see. Okay, so just to give a background, this is the approval timeline. We started this project planning in February of 2025. And in September of 2025, we issued an RFQ. And in November of 2025, after that process of a CMAR, the governing board approved and selected Chase Building Team to be our contractor for this, for Edison's renovation. And on May 14th of 2026, just recently, the governing board approved the GMP 1 that was approved. And that actually will be completed in September of 19th of 2026. And tonight we are presenting the GMP 2 for phase 2. And this approves Chase Building Team to move forward with Edison for phase 2 for building improvements of building 400, 500, and 700. Maintaining the project momentum and delivering facilities that supports innovative learning and partnership with the Phoenix Zoo. Okay, so the green area is from the GMP 1. I'm sure you've seen the parking lot is completed. That happened on July 27th, right before school, so that was great. And then we have the play fields and the play equipment that should be complete by in September of this year. And tonight, the governing board has the GMP2 for the orange section, which shows the buildings 400, 500, and also 700. If it's approved tonight, they should be complete by winter break. Okay, so why GMP approval matters, it continues the project, keeps it on schedule. It's also advances the Edison Zoo School vision, ensures transparency and procurement compliance, and provides cost certainty. Our recommendation is the administration recommends that the governing board approve Chase Building Team GMP2 for RFQ 25-530, construction manager at risk for Edison Elementary renovation. And we also have Chase Building Team here as if you have any questions.
Sure.
Did you really expect me to read this chart, which is in 2-point font?
Yeah, it's just a screenshot, but we have the attachment on the agenda as well.
Is it in my packet somewhere?
Yes. It was just a screenshot to show how what it looks like.
You see it? I would move that we table this item until we get a proper size document later in the meeting.
I second.
Motion on the floor, Madam President.
Point of information, can we get a full-size chart of that one in particular?
Yes, yes.
Would you like for us to provide that this evening, Madam Vice President?
Well, if you want to vote on it this evening, you're going to have it. Because I'm not voting for this until I can look.
Is
at
that
the numbers.
procedurally okay, Ms. O'Brien?
Is it in the board materials?
Screenshot is of yes, but to get one in a larger font, I'd be happy to provide that.
Okay.
Okay. If you would excuse me, I'll go and get my laptop to do that.
Can you guys read this? Thank you. Yeah, could the secretary please restate the motion? But before she does, could you restate the motion? Because I did say that it was tabled until later in the meeting, so we have an opportunity to vote on it later if we get the document. Was that what you heard? Okay, thank you.
Read it again. Is that what you said?
No, she doesn't need to read it. I restated it. She said she has it. That's fine.
So, Board Member Trujillo?
I'd like to wait till we get to pick the document.
We're voting to table the motion until we get the document. That's all we're doing. Once we
Okay.
get the document, we'll vote on the item later.
Okay, then yes.
Board Member Sandoval Barrera?
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's?
Yes.
Vice President Edmiston?
Yes.
President Ovalle?
Yes, and with that, we're gonna table that. That moves us to E3, receive and discuss and consider approval of the fee addendums for Edison Elementary renovations projects and Garfield Elementary additions and renovations project policy DJE-R.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, Cabinet, Community, thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the addendum to our fee schedule with our architect, Grace Design Studios. So when we first started all of these renovations at Edison and Garfield, the board approved a overall budget of 22 million for Garfield and 20 million for Edison. As we're moving through the process and the scope of work is changing, that's also changing the amount for the overall design and scope for each project. So the overall budget for each, the overall budget for each project is not changing. We are staying under, but what we do have to do is we have to go and amend what the architect fees are. So on the Edison project, our original proposal was 723,000, and it is being adjusted to 1.2 million, and that is based on scope of work. That has nothing to do with the overall budget that is governing board approved. This is just being transparent to the governing board, saying this is what's happening with that scope of work. So tonight, we're here to present this and ask for approval to rearrange. As we are seeing the Garfield project, we projected higher amounts than the Edison project. So our Garfield project was actually at 1.9 on the original, and we're reducing that, 1.2, and we're reducing the Garfield down to 915,000. So we're trying to align. As the Edison, we increased, Garfield, we decreased. So that's what we're doing tonight with our addendum to our fee with our architect Grace Designs to align, and we can adjust those purchase orders accordingly. Now, it is good to mention that as we are going through this process and we have GMP ones, which is the greatest maximum price for Garfield, we are on GMP 2 right now. And as we table GMP 2 for Edison, we want to align that with how much the scope of work is. As we're going through this, we might, when we first started, our scope of work has shifted. So at Garfield, we've reduced that price, that overall budget price, but we're not going over what the governing board has approved of that 22 million. And same with Edison, where the scope of work is increasing. So for an example of this is at our Edison project, we had an easement drainage that we did not know about. And when the contractors are digging up this easement, it costs an additional about $700,000 to $800,000 to mitigate the situation for this easement. That increases the overall GMP price, which we have to go and adjust the actual overall contract price. So that's where we're seeing Garfield is coming down in our architecture fees, and Edison is increasing on our architectural fees. And tonight we're asking the board to approve that.
We got any questions, comments from the board?
One question, if I may. Thank you for explaining that. So I'm looking at the first one. No, you know what? Never mind. I'm good. Thank you.
Madam President. Mr. Whittle, I appreciate the example from, about the easement. Could we get an example for the other one as far as the reduction?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're going through, we're cutting out different projects that we had this big vision, right? We want to provide more, but due to budget constraints, because the board has only approved up to 20 million, we couldn't fulfill those big ticket items. So we had to reduce those costs a little bit. So that's where we're seeing the shift of going down on that, because we don't want to go above budget as what we presented to the board. And we do want to give kudos to our partners, Chase and Grace, because they have done a great job. As we're going through this and we have these grand, big ideas that we want to give to our kids, Grace and Chase are there to say, hey, this really doesn't fit your budget. So we need to reduce this, where we had grand ideas with the Phoenix Zoo School, or we had grand ideas with the with the garden schools, where we're developing these, and Grace and Chase are saying, hey, no, you guys need to come within budget. And that's where we are changing those scope of works.
I guess I'm just wanting to understand the transition of where we were at, where we started, what we approved, and then like the transition here. So I will just connect with you on this later, because I know I'm just probably missing a few things, but because overall it makes sense. So I'm good with it. Thank you very much.
I can help support with that. Remember when we brought this to you originally, we had a very large fancy gym. And given our budget, we decided to go with option B, which was a smaller gym, not a high school style gym, but a middle school style gym. We've also recognized different aspects of the playground that we can change, the field that we can change. We had thought maybe we'd be able to do AstroTurf. And after looking at it budgetarily, having a grass turf makes more sense for us. So it's those kinds of cuts. It doesn't change what you've approved in terms of the design. It just helps us to stay within our budget.
Within our means. Okay, those help, because I do remember having the options that we had to go through. So thank you very kindly.
And I think Dr. Gonzalez brings up a good point. When we were talking about the turf, we wanted, the high quality turf. We're going with more of a hydro seed, which is reducing that cost significantly at Garfield. And those are what we're making. We're making financially responsible decisions.
Got it. Thank you.
This is only tangentially related, but I am curious as we're talking about this, which schools don't have a gym currently?
The schools that don't have a gym are Magnet, Kenilworth. And those are the two, Magnet and Kenilworth.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I move that we receive, discuss, or that we approve, the fee addendums to Edison Elementary renovations project and Garfield Elementary additions and renovations project policy DJE-R. Can I get a second?
Second.
Board Member Trujillo,
Aye.
Board Member Sandoval Pereira,
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's,
Aye.
Vice President Edmiston,
Yes.
President Alvaya.
Yes, and with that, it passes. That moves us to action item E4, receive and discuss and consider approval to solicit a multi-term contract determination for on-site delivery of services of intensive behavioral classrooms, policy DJE-R.
Madam President, Governing Board, Cabinet, and Community, thank you for having me again. This is to discuss the multi-term contract. This is for us as a district to go out and solicit the services for the anytime that we might possibly have a contract longer than a year. Excuse me. We have to go to the board and ask for permission to do so. And then annually, we will come back as long as everything's going well with the vendor and we have funding, et cetera. We come back for that renewal. So if you have any questions specifically, I can help you with that.
If I could, President Ovalle, or board, cabinet, community members. I did a board update on this process, just to make sure that we understood its procurement is an interesting process to go through, and we want to be fully transparent. I do want to address that we are going to take our time on this. The program currently is staffed and we have students in the program. So the opportunity here is for us to make some meaningful decisions about what the contract's going to look like, who would be appropriate vendors, if any, that we'd be considering. But I want to make sure that I'm clear that the program is currently up and running, and the board is not in a situation where you're having to make any decisions right now other than the fact of an opportunity for us to go out and look at what is out there.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Just one for clarity. Please. So we're just allowing for permission to get the RFPs, RFQ. I know it's one of those things, but okay. Thank you very much. That's
Yeah.
what my understanding was. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's just for us to go out and solicit those services. It's not guaranteed for approval of any vendor unless it comes to the board.
May I ask what? That's going to take
Yes, yes. So if
Next
we,
year. Okay.
yeah, so if we get this approved, tonight we can solicit and we can advertise and it will take about a couple of months, 2 or 3 months to go through it. And as Dr. Alshire said, take our time, review those, have a committee of people that will review these, score them, and then we'll bring it back to the board. So it will take a while. It won't probably be, when it will be implemented if approved.
Yeah, so I was going to ask who is running the program now since we're in this gap stage.
We are currently running the program right now. As we articulated before, we're staffing it with a couple of vendors and a couple of our own staff, but the program is up and running, and we're currently overseeing the program as it stands.
Okay, and then my last recommendation, because we've had extensive conversations and I really appreciate that because, you know, this means a lot to me. I think just being transparent with the parents, kind of what's happening, the shift that's happening, because I'm still connected to some parents, they were unaware, so maybe working on, you know, making sure families know that they're gonna get taken care of regardless, but we might have a shift, so.
Absolutely, and we are going to make sure that both our parents know that the program is there for them right now, and they're bringing their kids to it, and then also making sure that they are fully cognizant of any decisions moving forward. And we'll be doing that in sort of town hall fashion, but also one-on-one.
Thank you so much for that. Is there anybody else who has any comments? Questions? All right. Well, with that, I move that we approve to solicit a multi-term contract determination for on-site delivery of services for intensive behavioral classrooms, policy DJE-R. Can I get a second?
Second.
Board Member Trujillo?
Yes.
Board Member Sandoval Barrera?
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's?
Yes.
Vice President Edmiston? President Ovalle?
Yes, and with that, the motion passes.
Madam President, I move that we take item E2 from the table so that we can consider it now that I have something that I can actually read. From Grace and Chase. Sounds like a very bad vaudeville team, but okay.
Sure, let's go back to item E2, receive
Correct.
and discuss and consider approval of the Chase Building Team's GMP2 guaranteed maximum price for Edison renovation PESD RFQ 25-5-30 policy DJE-R.
Can I ask staff a question?
Yes.
That I can read this? I noticed that the most expensive item in this total cost list are the site utilities. Can you explain why that is?
I will bring Chase up here to address that question.
Oh, you're Chase?
Yeah, this is James.
Oh, I thought you
He's
were,
with Chase. He's the project manager.
you're not Chase or Grace. You're,
He's-
Chase Building Team, and then Grace Science Field is behind me.
okay, I lost you, but that's okay. Go ahead.
So that line item that you're specifically looking at, Aaron previously, Mr. Whittle previously mentioned that there's a drainage easement that we have to maintain. The property actually used to be a street that ran through the middle of Edison. And there's a city easement in there that we have to maintain. And in order to do so, there is certain parameters that have to be met in order to carry city stormwater through the property and have it pass through the property and get back to city stormwater on the opposite side of the property. So it comes in completely from the east and exits completely on the west side.
So what utilities, Madam President, what utilities are in that easement at the present time?
Utilities in that easement include domestic water, sewer, and so a little bit of storm drain for
There-
city stormwater.
So there are no Public Service Corporation utilities in there? There are
Uh,
no electrical, no telephone that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. That helps, all right. Can I ask you another question, Madam President? I also noticed that we're spending a large amount of money on landscaping. Is that unusual or is that a common necessity in this type of an environment?
I'll let Mr. Whittle take over for that one.
Whoever can answer it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So when we were looking at this and we're working with Chase and Grace, the landscaping was a red flag to me as well. And there is, because it is a zoo school, we need to incorporate that zoo atmosphere. So with all the plants and all the trees that are going in, it does have an extreme cost to that of about $500,000.
Okay.
So we are trying to make it that zoo school atmosphere to where kids have that feeling of actually being at a zoo.
If I may, Madam President, Mr. Aaron's?
Yeah.
That was a question that came up extensively. The landscaping, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Salazar, but that also includes some hardscape, some dividing walls, some areas. It's not just plants and foliage.
Okay. Lastly, Madam President, if I may, what goes under general conditions? I've never heard that term used before in a spreadsheet of a construction project.
No problem. General conditions are our facilities, our time to administer the product, or
Okay.
administer the project. Sorry.
I've heard it referred to as a different term, but thank you for explaining.
No
that.
problem.
That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you for whoever is responsible for this. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Cool. Thinking about landscaping, and you mentioned bringing in plants, what is the long-term maintenance fees gonna be associated with that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. That's something that I've asked. What does that look like? Because when those trees do get large and we have to cut them, what does that schedule look like? And when we're working with Chase, we actually did cut out several trees that were on the scope of work. So we are limiting that, but we're also installing trees that are low maintenance. And the low maintenance do have some water, right? We're gonna have to water them a little bit less, so should see some savings in there. So we are designing it to where the maintenance of the landscaping is adhering to our district standards, to where we're not putting too much on our landscaping crew.
They're all desert adapted plants.
Yeah, so that's a really good question.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Drought tolerant, we want to use native plants, make sure that they can survive our temperatures in our 2 seasons. So, yeah, that would be like a big deal for me. So thank you. Any other questions? All right, I move that we approve the Chase Buildings GMP2 guaranteed maximum price for Edson renovation. What is that one? Yeah. PESD RFQ 25-5-30 policy DJE-R. Can I get a second?
Second.
Board Member Trujillo?
Aye.
Board Member Sandoval Pereira?
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's? Vice President Edmiston?
Yes.
President Ovalle?
Yes, and with that, it passes. So that brings us to information items. F1, receive information about the district-run intensive therapeutic intervention program, serving students and staff as a model to support students with behavioral changes, policy JA.
Madam President, at this time, this is a program that we're exceptionally proud of, the Intensive Therapeutic Intervention, and David Vasquez is the program coordinator for this, and so he will be sharing the work that they have put into developing this unique opportunity for students.
Right. Good evening, board members and cabinet and community members, both here and online. Like Dr. Gonzalez said, my name is David Vasquez, and I am the proud coordinator of the ITI program. I'm really excited to share the good work that we're doing for our students and our families. So thank you guys for taking the time to listen. Okay. So we've often been confused with the IT department because of the name ITI. So I wanted to take some time to really get into why ITI. There's a lot of intentionality behind the name. If you're familiar with education and the model here that you're seeing on the screen, this is our model of supports. So tier 1 is the supports that exist for all schools and for all students. Tier 2 is that more focused level of support and intervention. And then tier 3 is where we live in the ITI program. We're at the tippy top of the triangle. But the reason why I chose this illustration is because it's a layered support. So students that receive our supports don't just receive our supports, but continue to receive the supports that exist in both tier 2 and tier 1. So we maintain that collaboration with the schools and the families while we step in and continue supporting students. Okay, so the T in ITI stands for therapeutic. So in the center of the slides here, you're going to see an upside down triangle that represents a heuristic of the brain. This is from the work of Dr. Bruce Perry, a neuroscientist. And what we know about our brain is that unless we're regulated and unless that we're in a good place, that we're not going to be able to learn. So we really understand that about our students that come to us. And when they're coming to us, we understand that they might be scared because they're going to be in a different setting. They might be frustrated. They might be angry, right? They might be feeling all of these feelings. So we really are intentional about regulating with them first before we start connecting and then building concepts with them and then building that relationship with them before they go back to their campuses. So there's an illustration of what our setting and the intentionality that goes into our environment. So we're really intentional about our lighting. We're intentional about comfortable seating. Choices is really important for us in the program. So students, if they don't want to do one thing, they can do another thing. Predictable environments through scheduling and routines and procedures is what we really focus on when we think about the environment that really supports the ability for a student to regulate. And then the right there is, I mean, simply said, right? It's the little conversations that build those relationships and make an impact on each student. If we don't have relationship, we can't get to learning. So that's a lot of the therapeutics that go into our ITI program. And then the last is the intervention piece. So we are data-driven. So we work with schools, we work with families to really have a good understanding of the behaviors that our students are exhibiting at our schools, making sure that the data is tracked, that there's progress monitoring, that we're not making rash decisions of support, but rather really focusing on what the data is telling us about our students and what their needs are. We're an intervention, so we are short-term. So that is not where our students reside permanently. Our students are with us for a short amount of time, 5-10 days if they're there with us for interventions. And in that short time, we work on building support plans back for our students. So there's an example of what a support plan might look like. We look at several pieces. What is driving the behavior? So what is the function behind the student's behavior? What is the student looking to communicate through their behavior? What would we want to see instead whenever they're presenting this kind of behavior? We develop proactive planning, right? So a lot of the work that we do for our students is not in the work that when they're in front of us, but it's really that preventative planning of how do we create an environment that's really supportive and conducive so that when our students enter their school or they enter our program, that we've kind of stacked the deck in their favor to really help them. And then of course, we need to be prepared to support them whenever they do engage in those challenging behaviors. And that's that reactive plan. And we also identify those reinforcers. What motivates the child to engage in those more desired behaviors? And how are we going to continue tracking that data when they leave us and go back to their campuses? And that data then is communicated to families to show that progress or that additional need for more support. So why does this work? So our families is why this works. We are really intentional about connecting with our families. We want to know what are the circumstances outside that school environment that's impacting their behavior. So it's a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration. When the ITI program enters in that support system, we have a hand up because we're a neutral participant. And we get to ask questions. And my favorite thing to tell parents is, look at me as your child's advocate. What is like, I want to understand what your child needs so that when they go back to their campus, that they are getting what they need. What do they need in their environment? What do they need in skill building? What do they need in motivation? And I tell parents, look at me as your child's advocate. It works because we work with school teams as well. So while students are placed in the ITI program, which is located at Lowell Elementary, I should have prefaced that earlier. When kids are with us in the ITI program, we continue communication with schools. We are connecting with the school teams. What we're learning every single day goes right back to the school teams as to how they can continue supporting their students and prepare so when the students return back, that they're ready for success. And this is a cycle, it never stops, right? We continue to be a part of the child's educational success. And we fade out as necessary, but we continue to track through our system called Panorama, which lets us see how the student is doing long after they leave us so that we're not losing sight of them. And if we need to intervene again, then we're ready to do so. Okay, so some nuts and bolts of ITI. I mean, this could be like an hour presentation, but I wanted to keep it short for you guys. So we, like I said, consult with schools. So a lot of meeting with teams, participating in leadership meetings with principals, participating one-on-one sessions with teachers is a big part of the success. We communicate with families, like I said, really connecting with them, making sure that they have a voice in the matter, that they're telling us the circumstances that exist outside of what we can see to make sure that we're addressing those needs in our school. We maintain connections with school sites. This is one of the things I'm the most proud of with the ITI program. When our kids come to us, we make sure that we have connections with their schools every day. So the kids will get on virtual meetings and meet with their social worker or their teacher. So that way they don't feel like they've been kind of pushed aside, but rather, hey, like, how are you doing? We're excited for you to come back. And that way kids don't feel nervous about going back. Teachers don't feel nervous about kids coming back because they maintain that connection. That's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we did, because I can imagine what it might feel like for our students to be removed from their school for a bit. So I wanted to make sure that they felt still connected. We're a neutral environment, so we have a hand up in that too, because our kids are coming to us and they're learning, they're testing things, but everything is kind of brand new. So it really, if they come dysregulated, we get a chance to connect with them, but a lot of times they come connected, believe it or not, and they're ready to just tell us what's going on their campus. And, you know, hey, let me tell you about my teacher. Let me tell you about what's happening here. And we just listen, right? We listen, and then we frame it as to, hey, these are a lot of opportunities that you're sharing with us. Kids are such advocates for themselves. We get to really work one-on-one with students because of our ratio. We only have about 5 to 6 students at a time, and we have about 3 staff members in our program at any given time, depending on the needs of the room. But we really get to sit down and connect with the kids and hear them out and identify those moments where they're frustrated, or they're excited and they have a success, and we say, okay, what just happened there and how can we replicate that so they continue success? We have a very highly trained staff. I'm so thankful for our staff. You're gonna get to see a picture of them in a little bit, but we're all trained in crisis prevention intervention, which is the model that says, how do we help to de-escalate students if they're getting upset? We're all trained in Boys Town classroom management that looks at the principles of behavior analysis. We're trained in the neurosequential model of education, my certifications in applied behavior analysis, and we're recently certified in Yukuru, which is another de-escalation technique that, again, is very therapeutic and looks at supporting students without any sort of physical management. So who do we support? So we support students that might require diagnostic placements. So this might be a student who comes to our school or family that comes to our schools, and we see that there's a need here for an evaluation. And in the past, those families have had to go and wait at home while we did evaluations because the needs were too significant to maintain in a school setting while evaluations were completed. But now the ITI program serves as a place that says, hey, like, your kid can come over here. We will keep them safe. We will try to teach them some routines and procedures. All the while, our specialists are working to do those evaluations, identifying those needs, and then getting them ready for services. And that's all done through the agreement of families. We're an alternative to suspension. So we had a few students last year who were suspended and otherwise would have been home. And we say, you can come over here instead. And we're gonna be your place where we can talk about what happened. You can talk about what you wanna do when you go back to your classroom. Rather than being at home. So there's a lot of learning that happens rather than students just being, they are suspended because they engage in behaviors that merited that, but we get to support them. And then, of course, the intervention piece, we work with families to say, we're not gonna give up on your child. We see that your child's struggling at school. The data is showing us that the referrals are stacking up. And we say, okay, let us intervene here. Let us intervene by coming into the school and observing the student, giving the team some feedback, or we might come to an agreement that says, you know what, I think the next best move here for your student, because the environment just seems to be so triggering, is let them come to ITI for 10 days, 5-10 days, and then we'll work with them, we'll identify what's going on, and then set them back, and provides that reset for our students. Okay, so the data, really data-driven in the ITI program. So last year, we supported 25 students who were placed because of an intervention. 9 of them were placed due to diagnostic placements and 4 were alternatives to suspension. Now look at those outcomes over here. On the blue, you're going to see that 36% of our students that came to us improved with a reduction in their office discipline referrals. I get the privilege of looking at that data and smiling, looking at each name and saying, yeah, you're doing well, you're doing well, you're doing well. It's 13, might seem like a small number, but those are 13 lives. 9 diagnostic placements. So we talked about what those were. 27% of our students, whenever they went back, received an increase in supports, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. I think it was 2 students that moved, so we lost track of them and their progress, and 1 of the students was referred for special education. Okay, so what does increased supports look like when we say increased supports? So an increased support might look like we're adding additional minutes for social worker time. Maybe they're working with the behavior interventionist closely when they return back to their campus. Increased supports might look like a modification in the supervision planning, or maybe some safety planning that needs to happen. Again, that planning for the moments that we know are going to happen with our students rather than being caught by surprise. Again, to create predictable environments to reduce the likelihood of those intense behaviors, because we're predictable, and that breeds safety for our students. Increased supports might be increased time in a special education classroom. Academic modifications might occur. We might provide additional staffing, again, to maintain safety and to build that academic success for our students. And then, of course, increased collaboration with family. Our families become more involved. They offer themselves up to come and support students on site, or they might say, can I be a part of more meetings with you guys? And they just are more attuned to the needs of their child. And that really starts making a change too, because the level of accountability increases for the student. Reduction in ODRs, that success is, I mean, our kids are spending more time in the classroom if they're not in the office. And we're seeing an increased display of those pro-social behaviors. So while we see a reduction in those behaviors that we didn't like, we're seeing kids more academically engaged, connecting with their peers. So we see that increase in those desired behaviors. We see an increase in accepting responsibility, which is a big piece for our students. When they come to us, they're often, I'm here because of the other people in my school. And we really work on helping them to accept responsibility for their choices. We see a reduction in phone calls home, and then we see improved relationships with our families. So this is some quotes. I got to go back on my phone and look at some of those texts that I've gotten. I don't know what you did with blank, but it's working. I've used the strategies that you shared with other students who are displaying similar behavior. So teachers will start generalizing some of the skills that I taught them and saying, oh yeah, I have another kid that might work for. And teachers, of course, are always saying, we're excited to have you back. These are some of the parent texts that I've gotten. This is the most regulated I've seen her in a long time. Please keep working with him. Don't give up on him. Y él sí lo puede. And our students, this was a student who was with us, an older student. This is an 8th grader, okay? So he's saying, thank you. I don't think I would have made it without you. I'm ready to go back to my school with confidence, like they're ready. Are you gonna tell my mom how I did today? How good I was today? Thank you, I'm gonna miss you. And can you come with me to my school when I go back? This makes me really proud of the work that we do, because this program could really be seen as a negative moment for kids because they've done things in school that have gotten them in quote unquote trouble. But to see them communicate like this lets us know that we are really connecting with them and seeing them, and they're seeing that we're there for them. We've built that trust, and it's not a scary place. This is who we are. This is Ms. Brooke Smith, who is our behavior interventionist that runs the day-to-day of the room. She's fantastic. And this is Ms. Brianna Guillen. Maybe you guys saw her. She received a STAR Award last year for her exceptional work in the ITI program and just spilling out onto Lowell's campus, working with Ms. Ramos. So thank you, guys.
Do we have any questions?
So M&Ms as a reinforcer. We try not to do edibles as a reinforcer just because they're not the healthiest thing. But yeah, maybe we cut the M&Ms in half.
Yes, we've also had some changes with our food stuff, so.
True.
So we gotta abide by that. Any other questions from anybody?
I have a few questions. The first one, really quick, I might have missed this, but could you explain what the Boys Town?
The model is?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And yeah, where it comes from?
So
Thank you.
Boys Town model comes from Father Flanagan. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Father Flanagan. There's a whole movie called Boys Town. But the idea is, at its crux, really looks at creating preventative strategies for students, looks at building skills through social skills that have been task analyzed, looks at the concept of effective praising students at a 4-to-1 ratio. So for every negative comment that a student might receive corrective, they're getting 4 positives. It also looks at de-escalation and making sure that kids are regulated first before learning happens about the incident. And it's just a really structured process. I've been trained in it now for, I want to say 8 years. It's a model that I've also then taught our teachers as well. Lowell Elementary is one of the schools that has adopted some of those principles of Boys Town and are using it as well.
Thank you very much. It's the whole presentation, reading through it, makes me believe that connection and that stuff is really important as far as getting to the, just understanding where our kids are coming from. But then when I read this behavior intervention plan, I'm hoping it's just outdated, really. But I was wondering if I could get an example of a modified, like when you have to go back in a few weeks and modify one, I'm just wondering what would change.
Yeah, and to be fully candid, that's just a stock image of a behavior plan.
Okay, thank you.
But I'd be happy to share the behavior plans that we use.
Just an example of like
Mhm.
what you guys would normally,
Yeah, absolutely.
implement, because that really just threw me for a loop. It
Yeah.
just seems, just wasn't what I was picturing as I was going through the presentation. Thank you.
We can
Yeah.
definitely provide that as a board update for everybody. Okay.
Madam President, may I?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez, for the presentation. It was really well done. The question that I have regarding the ITI is more of a practical experience, I guess, is can you walk through on how basically just the whole process of what you, like, let's take an imaginary little boy Felipe having trouble, what's the first step to get them into ITI? And then just run down like a situation, he's having trouble always listening and paying attention in class, and
Yeah.
he's making fun of other students. Instead of making him get a referral, can you just tell me, like, in that example, what's
Sure.
the streamlined process and what's the end goal?
Yeah, so our goal is never to get kids into ITI. Our goal is to keep them at school. So if I hear about Felipe who's having a hard time with listening, I'm going to say, hey, let me come and take a look. So I'll come in, I'll sit in the classroom, and I'll just observe what's going on. And in my observation, I'm observing Felipe and what he's doing, but I'm also observing the environment in which he's existing. And if that environment is somehow reinforcing him to engage in those behaviors that we don't want to see. I'm also looking at what Felipe is motivated by and what he's trying to communicate through his behavior. So he doesn't want to listen, but why doesn't he want to listen? Like, what is he going away to? What does he want? What is he trying to avoid? So it's really trying to understand the why behind his behavior. And that's done through observations. And then I'll ask the teacher to take some data, or I'll ask like auxiliary members that are like social worker, hey, like, can you just kind of do some pop-in observations to not disrupt the teacher's learning? And then that data will help us determine the function of behavior as to why. And then from there, we'll develop an intervention plan that says, okay, if we believe that this is for Felipe, he wants attention. Maybe he doesn't want to listen to this person because When he doesn't listen, then he gets taken to, let's say, Mr. Fuentes' office. And Mr. Fuentes gives him a lot of attention. So we're like, oh, he gets a lot of attention. So how do we give Felipe some non-contingent attention before he goes and escapes, right? We want to satiate his need for attention. At that, we'll also start taking data on if he continues to, let's say, leave the room to go get attention from Mr. Fuentes. If we start seeing that the data is not trending in the right direction and we're seeing that he's still leaving the room or attention-seeking behavior is increasing, then we're saying, okay, maybe we don't have it, or we're missing a factor in the environment that we're not quite picking up on. So then we'll say, okay, if enough time has happened, right? So we look at like 3 to 4 weeks for an intervention to kind of sit and breathe. If enough time has passed and we're saying, okay, we're not seeing the desired results, the team might say, let's do something else, or let's go to ITI. Now, I always caution teams with ITI because I really take it seriously when kids are removed from their campus. So I would say, is there any opportunities that you see of where we can tweak this intervention? Are we doing the intervention? What else might the function be? If Felipe is showing some unsafe behaviors, maybe he's running to Mr. Fuentes' office, but while he's running, he also is careless and trips and falls a lot. Then I might say, well, I don't want Felipe to get hurt anymore when he's trying to do meet his needs. So I might say, let's do ITI then. So then we do the intake with the families. We say, hey, like, the school has been doing all this good work. And the family's like, yeah, I know they've been trying. And they usually celebrate the teachers and say, thank you so much for what you've done. And then we say, okay, well, we have this program where we can bring Felipe to, and it's a neutral environment. We want to see if those behaviors continue to happen at the same rate, or if something changes, if it's a different, and that might lead us to some different conclusions. And then from that, we create a new plan, new recommendations, and then we try it again back at this pretend school. Yeah.
So it's more of like a process throughout that particular school year. It's not like they're in ITI for the rest of the year and then the next year over and over again, correct?
No, no. Our goal is to get our students back. And our students enter day one, and we tell them that is what we're doing here. We want to get you back to your campus. We want you to be successful. Your teachers miss you. People are asking about you. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Any other questions?
Yes, I've got one more. I'd like to understand, when you say we want to get them back to their school, where exactly do they go when they're not at their school?
Oh, yeah. So they go to Lowell Elementary. The ITI program is at Lowell Elementary.
That's the only one that we've got?
It's the only one that
place-
we've got right now.
Okay, just
Yeah.
wanted to be.
We have 2
super clear.
rooms, so we're very thankful to Ms. Ramos for giving us 2 rooms, but we have 2 rooms at Lowell Elementary. That's the program.
Got it.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome. I have a few questions.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned it a little bit, how a child gets referred to your program. I think you said by a teacher.
So there's an MTS process. So the school systems run through this multi-tiered system of supports. A teacher might, to kind of bring it all the way back to Felipe, a teacher might notice that there's some concerns with Felipe. And they might make preliminary data, make the phone calls home. And that's the first step. And we're saying, man, like, I've moved his seat, I've given him M&Ms, and it's not working. Then the teacher might refer the student to the MTSS team and say, hey, people on my school site, social worker, behavior interventionist, principal, I need you guys to know what's going on in my room. And then from there, that MTSS team might then say, okay, we need to do a behavior intervention plan. Or, you know what, the behaviors are pretty intense. I can't believe that this has been happening. Let's get David over here and have him take a look. And then I'm involved, and then we kind of start that cycle of communicating with the family, saying, hey, my name is David, I'm here to observe your child. And then if we see the behavior not trending in the right direction, then referral to ITI.
And how many kids get referred over to you? I think the last graph, it was like 25, but was that for a year?
That was, and so it was 25 and I think it was like 36 because there was 3 different bars.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then roughly, like, let's say monthly.
I mean, it really varies. The start of the year can kind of maybe like 4 or 5 in a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask questions about this behavior intervention plan, but it's a stock thing, okay? What is your success rate working with families?
In what regard?
Like just having them be involved in the process, collaborating?
Yeah, a lot of times families are really thankful that there's someone saying, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And to, and they'll say, I'm apologizing in advance for what, you know, they're gonna do and with you. And I'll say, there's no need to apologize, that this is what we do. So I think when families hear that, they exhale and they themselves regulate and open up
Mhm.
and trust.
Awesome. Just comment is that populations who get in trouble are people that I care about a lot. I work with incarcerated youth and formerly incarcerated youth, and really keeping them in the classroom, keeping them at school is really important for me. And so, identifying trends in data, who's being disciplined the most, what type of supports they need, all of that is really, really important for me. So I really appreciate the work that you do. I get like a very good energy from you, and I believe that this is what these kids need. They're always in these harsh environments. People don't understand them, what they've been through. And so I like what you're doing, and depending on data, we might need more supports. So thank you for introducing yourself to us, and I look forward to talking to you some more about how we can support our kids more.
Thank you.
So thank you. That's all I had. All right, so that brings us to item F2, receive and discuss advise ASBA advisory policy recommendations as first reading policy advisory number 1050, policy BG, BGB, BGC.
Madam President, members of the board, this is the first reading for ASBA's recommendation to change DJE, which is the bidding purchasing procedures. Recently, the USFR created an update that increases the threshold for written price quotations from 10,000 to 15,000. So the policy now provides that the purchases of at least $15,000 and less than $100,000 require price quotations from at least three vendors. And so we're recommending that we follow with the changes in the USFR and the recommendation of ASBA to accept this. You have both the original and the redlined version from ASBA that you can read and take a vote on and or make recommendations for changes in the second reading. And we will entertain that at the next meeting.
So conversely, that means you now can provide services and pay for them for under 15,000 without any quotes. Is that correct?
Not unless our policy is changed.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Currently, it's 10,000. You can purchase services for anywhere under $10,000, correct?
That is correct.
So if this passes, now you'll be able to, we've increased it by 50%, the amount of money that you're allowed to be able to do just by saying, I need that, and it costs $14,995, and you will be able, if this passes, to be able to do that without any quotations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam President, may I?
Yes.
So jumping off of Board Member Aaron's regarding the 50% increase from $10,000 to $15,000, if this increase does pass, do you see, sorry, let me rephrase that. Were there any previous situations in which the district had a project or a vendor come that quoted over 10,000 that would have been helpful to the district if they were allowed the $15,000 for them to act?
I am going to defer to our CFO and he will share why this is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Madam President, members of the board, great question. There are some instances where that threshold, the 5,000 threshold would have helped the district secure that. What we're seeing a lot from the external stakeholders, teachers, is why do I have to get 3 quotes now? And it's not just based on it's good service, but really commodities. And as the inflation is continuing to go up, prices are going up. That's why this is a state standard now. So this is through the USFR, which is through our audit, the Uniform Standard of Financial Records. So if the USFR is allowing it to go up, they're understanding, hey, it's getting harder and harder for school districts to go out and get quotes. Where if we raise that threshold to the 15,000, would it help? That 5,000 might not sound like a lot, but it is a lot to our teachers and to our staff who just want to go and make a purchase. Now, we do have a great procurement team that is monitoring, are we buying commodities, goods, or services over that threshold? So this would help them out a lot with increasing that to $15,000.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you, Mr. Whittle.
Just one question. Do we know when the last time it was updated is? What year?
I've been doing this for 12 years and I have not seen this changed since then. It used to be the one thing that I did see change. It used to be from 10,000 to 49,999 was verbal quotes. And then they got rid of that. So 10,000 and then from 50,000 to 99,900 was written quotes. Then they changed it a couple years ago from 10,000 to 99,999 had to be all written quotes. There was no verbal quotes. So we saw that change about 2 or 3 years ago. Now they're adjusting that due to inflation where they're increasing that to 15,000 threshold.
Does this affect, thank you. Does this affect single source vendors?
This does affect single source vendors. This does, because all single source vendors, we have to come to the board for, sole source vendors.
Correct, okay.
Yeah,
That's-
sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, that moves us to G, request for future agenda items. We have any requests?
Madam President,
Sure.
thank you. A future, I don't know how this would be phrased for the future agenda item, so the thought is what really counts here. But regarding committees, I know that there was many public comments regarding committees. Is a future agenda item is being able to get information. I believe we have a financial committee already. I could be corrected. Just have a presentation or information, be able to review on how one can participate in that financial committee that we have.
And I believe that's the budget committee you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
the budget committee. Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to ask council to provide at the next board meeting on the agenda the sites for the policy and the statutory authority that muzzled me when I wanted to ask questions of a presenter.
I'd be happy to provide that in writing.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Anybody else? All right, that brings us to action item, to H, adjournment. And I move that we adjourn, or no, it's 6:31 and I move that we adjourn. Have to move?
I will second the motion.
Board Member Trujillo,
Aye.
Board Member Sandoval Barrera,
Aye.
Board Member Aaron's, Vice President Edmiston.
Yes.
President Ovalle.
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank all the people who showed up today, all the families, our behind the scenes tech person, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.